The BYD Shark is definitely a ute, but it's also Australia's most practical plug-in hybrid family vehicle. In this on-road drive review, I'll tell you why that is and why you should be considering this if you're thinking about an SUV or any hybrid car on the market. So stay tuned, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and ring the bell, and let's get to it. In my initial launch coverage of the BYD Shark Ute, I only got a chance to drive it off-road, so we'll get to the driving stuff shortly, but the brand has confirmed full pricing and specification details for this new dual cab Ute, and let me tell you, it is unfathomably good for the value for money equation. This thing is a game changer in our market. It starts at $57,900 plus on-road costs, which is $10,000 less than I was expecting it to be, and let me tell you, you are getting heaps of standard equipment and gear for that money. Things like full LED lighting technology around the vehicle. There's also 18-inch alloy wheels with a full-size spare wheel as well. You get keyless entry, push-button start, rain-sensing wipers, you get rear privacy glass, side steps, roof rails, a fake leather interior trim finish with power-adjustable front seats. They are heated and cooled front seats as well. And on top of that, you've got a 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster, a 15.6-inch infotainment screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wirelessly. You've got digital radio, built-in sat-nav, and a whole host of standard safety spec and tech as well. So, from the value for money perspective, at less than $60,000, there aren't many utes that come close to it. Actually, there's no ute that comes close to it in terms of the standard spec, and none come close when it comes to the powertrain. But I do have some alternatives that you might want to consider. If you're thinking about a practical plug-in hybrid, stay tuned. The next segment, we've got some good alternatives. If you're thinking, I want the best plug-in hybrid vehicle on the market and I don't necessarily need or want a ute, we'll go and have a look at the BYD Sea Lion 6. That vehicle is a fantastic 5-seat SUV. There's a choice of front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive models, so you've got some unsealed capability as well if you need it. And the all-wheel drive one is the most powerful version, and I really rate that model. I think it's a fantastic SUV. It's got amazing long-distance EV driving available and a super duper frugal engine when you are running it as a hybrid as well. Make sure you check out my detailed review of the BYD Sea Lion below. I've also done an all-wheel drive one, which you'll see a link for down there too. And if plug-in hybrid isn't necessarily a decision maker for you and you just want a big ute, well, have a look at the GWM Cannon Alpha. It comes with diesel or hybrid petrol powertrains, and the hybrid isn't necessarily as efficient as this, but it does come comprehensively kitted out, that 5-star ANCAP rated dual cab ute, which is big and it's got plenty of space, plenty of practicality, heaps of safety tech and spec, and it is a lovely thing to drive for the most part as well. It's just not as efficient as this, and the plug-in hybrid tech in this really does make a big difference. And if you are sold on the whole idea of a dual cab ute and you don't necessarily care if it's hybrid, plug-in hybrid or diesel, well, go and have a look at the Ford Ranger. It's still the benchmark in my mind when it comes to the dual cab ute segment in terms of the breadth of models available and the powertrains on offer too. So it's got a 2-litre turbo diesel, or you can get it with a 3-litre V6 diesel as well. But to get an equivalent spec Ranger compared to something like this, you're looking at more than $80,000. So that is a whole lot of extra money in your pocket if you aren't necessarily in need of 3.5-ton towing or all the off-road credentials that the Rangers have in the high grades. So would you pick any of those, or is this the right car for you? Now, I really like the look of this BYD Shark 6, and I really like the fact that if you do want to, you can accessorize it with a range of Iron Man accessories, including frontal protection bars. There's different wheel and tire packages. There will be a lift kit at some point as well, and you've got a number of different accessories for the tray as well, including canopies and roller covers and so forth. So if you are looking to make your BYD Shark as practical or as accessorized as you need or want it to be, well, there are plenty of options available, but they're only available through BYD stores, and you can check it all out on the configurator online. I had a bit of a play there this morning and thought it was a lot of fun. Now, this tray is massive. Let's have a look in the tub and see what kind of space we are dealing with. Yes, the easy thing about it is that you've got this 2-tap button and it's a slow release, soft opening tailgate. You can see for yourself, that is a massive amount of space. Love the fact that you've got this spray-in bed liner as standard on this model, which is great to see. You've got tie-down hooks as well. You've got lighting in the back. Yes, you can use this little button to turn on the lights, 2 lights in fact, which is great. And yeah, you've got a really great addition here in a power socket. Well, it's more like a power board. You've got 3 power points there. You'll see the maximum output on your screen now, and that means that you can run appliances or accessories, or if you're at a campsite, you could run a fridge or a microwave or a coffee machine or whatever it may be. So you won't be left feeling like you don't have enough power with this vehicle. It's fantastic to have 3 power points in the back. I like the fact that you've got this soft closed tailgate as well, so it doesn't make too much racket when you close it up. And underneath the body of the vehicle, there is also a full-size spare wheel as well. So that is great to see. And if you're wondering about payload capacity and so forth, I'm going to put some numbers on your screen now so you can see for yourself that it doesn't have the most payload of any dual cab ute on the market. It also doesn't have the most towing capacity of any ute on the market, but I think that it's a different kind of ute to that, and BYD has said that they are probably going to add a more powerful version with 3.5 ton towing later on. So that might be worth waiting for if that's what you really need or want. But for the majority of buyers who aren't going to be towing anything more than 2.5 tons or loading up the tray to work spec capacity, I reckon this is going to be just as much ute as you really need. So here it is, your point of view perspective of the production ready versions of the BYD Shark 6. And let me tell you, this is a standard spec level and it doesn't skimp. There is so much stuff on offer in this vehicle that it makes you feel like you've got yourself a bargain straight off the bat. So you've got a 15.6 inch touchscreen media system here. As you can see, it's got built-in sat nav, and like other BYD models, it can do this if you really want to make it rotate for whatever reason. Maybe you like the map layout that way. It's a quick processor as well, and the maps are pretty good, I have to say. And if you just want to put it back to the other way, which you'll need to if you want to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, then yes, that is possible too. There's a bunch of different menus on offer in this vehicle, so you can jump into this screen and turn on things like your daytime running lights. You can play with your seat heating and seat ventilation, and I think that maybe getting used to those things might be a little bit more difficult than just if you could have them as buttons, but there are some buttons. I'll show you them in a sec. But you can also use the Hey BYD,
hello,
turn on seat ventilation for driver.
Sure, I'll turn on seat ventilation in the driver's seat.
It has the best voice control system that I've experienced in a Chinese vehicle and in any vehicle. In fact, it's really simple to use, and I think that you will get used to it so easily. And look, you can even do all on, so you've got ventilated seats up front, so you can turn them off if you don't want them on. And there's also heating for the seats as well for the fronts. So it is a really nice bit of technology, this screen. You do have to learn it. It does take a bit of learning, and there's a number of different menus upon menus that will require your attention. If you want to keep an eye on energy stuff or adjust some of the controls for the battery, you can do that. Yes, there's plenty of different menus that you can muck around with and get your head around. If you want to keep an eye on when your servicing is due, that's on screen as well. You can go up to your ADAS settings and adjust things if you want to. One of the things that I don't particularly like is the driver monitoring camera system, which is this little camera up here that keeps an eye on your eyes. It looks evil with those little purple dots, doesn't it? No, it's just keeping an eye to make sure that you aren't being too distracted on the road. It does get on my nerves a little bit, and it might get on yours too. But yes, let's go back through some of the other menu screens here. There's this menu here, so you can jump into media systems like Spotify if you wish. It is a very complex and very complicated screen, but it does take a little bit of learning. There's a drop down box at the top as well, so you can add some favorites, but not the ones that you might want. I wish I could add the driver monitoring camera system there, but it's not possible. I think that you will get used to these controls pretty easily. And like I said, the voice control system is really good. But if you want to, you've got your climate control system here as well, so you can adjust your dual zone layout however you wish. Plus the fan control stuff is on the screen as well. But there's also a fan on or off button down there, and you've got a demister button down there too. You've got a volume dial as well. And on this side, you'll see you've got your hill descent control system for off-roading, parking sensors, and traction control off again for off-roading. That one is probably an important one to learn, the EV/HEV mode. So that changes it whether you're driving in electric or hybrid mode. And you'll see up on the screen there, it will change depending on when you're pressing that button. And we'll get to that stuff shortly. There's a remote release for the tailgate too. You can turn off the auto hold there. And that one there, the orange button in the middle, is your start-stop controller. Got a pretty conventional looking gear selector in front with a park button on top, a wireless phone charger there, up to 50 watts, which is good. That means it should charge your phone up pretty fast. I like the fact that you've got this orange trimming around the vents on the dash, and the design here is very, very neat. It's got a really functional element to it in terms of the storage. So we've got a shelf in front of the passenger. There's also a glove box. You've got bottle holders in the doors, these big cup holders between the seats, and a decent sized center console bin as well with USB ports and a 12 volt. The orange trim makes its way onto the stitching of the seats. These are super comfy seats, heated and cooled, electrically adjustable for both the driver and the passenger. But one thing you might want to keep in mind is that the driver's seat doesn't have memory settings. Now let's have a look at this steering area. So it does have a bit of a strange steering wheel. You can sort of put your finger through the gaps, which is odd, but it's got a terrain mode controller there, a drive mode selector there. You've got your cruise control stuff on that side and some menu controls on this side. Your blinker and headlight stalk is this one. Yes, blinker's on the right, which is nice. You've got your wipers on that side as well, and this 10.25 inch screen in front of the driver, which has plenty of information available on it that you can cycle through if you want to. It's a really simple system to use, and I have to say, generally, the interior is so good in this vehicle. It's really impressed me over my time in it. And other nice functionality bits include a hoik handle here, so you can get yourself up and into the vehicle. You've got illuminated vanity mirrors, an auto dimming rear view mirror, and a sunglasses holder too. So all that stuff pretty much nailing the brief, but let's check out the backseat space. All right, so this seat is set for my driving position at 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. You can see I've got enough knee room and enough foot room underneath the seat ahead to be comfortable. Headroom is also very, very good. So yeah, I'm 6 foot and I've got space to spare. There's a grab handle up here. You've got a light as well, which is very, very handily positioned for parents because you want to be able to see what's going on, and it's easy to reach in and turn it on if you need to when you're getting a kiddo out at night. And the amenities are good too. You've got map pockets. There are grab handles on the side with soft elbow pads, and you do have bottle holders down there too. Plus there's another grab handle up here so you can hoik yourself in, and you've also got ISOFIX points in the window seats, and there's a top tether array as well. So you can see there you've got 3 top tethers all mounted behind their respective seats, which is a nice touch for families especially, because sometimes if you are loading a child seat into a dual cab ute, they have a top tether behind the center seat only, and it can be really difficult to get it as tight as you might feel comfortable with. Now, there's also a flip down armrest with cup holders. Down below, you'll see there are directional air vents as well. Nice orange around there too to carry it on. There's a storage area there, a couple of USB-C ports, and you've also got a power point down there too. So that is nice to see. And this is a super practical vehicle, partly because it doesn't have a transmission tunnel intrusion. So you will be able to fit 3 adults across the back row if you need to, and probably they'll all be comfortable. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable in the back here. I think it's a super practical ute. DMO stands for dual mode off-road, and if you've already seen my off-road review of the Shark, you will know that it is capable off-road, but we're not doing that in this review, just seeing what it's like to live with. Now, this 1.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine teams up with a pair of electric motors and the company's signature Blade battery pack, which I'll tell you the specs of in a sec, but the outputs of this powertrain are exceptional. 321 kilowatts and 650 newton meters combined, because it's got an electric motor at the front axle, 1 one at the rear axle, and of course this petrol engine as well. All told, the 0 to 100 time for this vehicle is a claimed 5.7 seconds, which is faster than a Ford Ranger Raptor. And yes, it is fast, it's zippy in daily driving, but we'll get to that in a couple of segments' time. The Shark 6 runs a 29.5 kilowatt hour battery pack, and BYD says the electric only range is about 100 kilometers, which is a very, very generous amount of EV driving available to you. It does have AC and DC charging. So AC at a maximum rate of 7 kilowatts. That's what you'll use most of the time at home, but there is the opportunity to rapid charge it if you need to on the open road. If you find a fast charge station, then you can do that. You'll see the speed of that capability on your screen now. And just for interest's sake, I'll throw up how long it should take to charge on both AC and DC on your screen now. But if you're going to run it primarily as a hybrid, and look, honestly, lots of people will, I'll show you that you've got a fuel tank filler on the other side as well. And you can just pop it like so, just like on the other side, but you do need to unlock it from inside the vehicle, and it needs 91 RON or above, but I would probably run it on 95 because it is a turbo engine. It is time for us to go drive this vehicle and see what it's like in normal driving situations. Righto, let's talk about the drive experience on road in the BYD Shark. Now, as I've said a few times already, if you want to see what it's like off-road, there's a link in the description, but this is all about how livable this ute is in daily driving. And I've got to say, the answer is very. It is a super, super livable ute for daily driving. Yes, it is a plug-in hybrid. Yes, you can run it as an EV if you wish, and there's apparently 100 kilometers of EV driving range. Now, I like to usually do a full driving test where I fill up the battery and I try and get as much EV driving as I can out of it, but I haven't had the opportunity with this particular loan. So I've been running it in hybrid mode just to see what you can expect in terms of the fuel consumption numbers and how much it dips in and out of EV as well. But for this test, I've just been running it in hybrid mode, in normal drive mode, and I mean, I am really impressed by the way that the powertrain manages everything. It's got the petrol engine, it's got electric motors at the front and rear, the battery pack, all of that working together through a transmission which doesn't have gears, so it doesn't muck around in terms of making it feel like you've got power when you need it, and it has plenty of power, let me tell you. This is not a slow ute. In fact, it's faster than anything else you can get for this kind of money or a whole lot more money. Just put my foot down. Yeah, it is ridiculously zippy. You don't have any of that unpleasant lagginess that you get from diesel engines, and you don't get any of that noisy clatter in the cabin either. It is quiet, it's refined, and it's super fast. In fact, I would go as far as to say that no other ute feels this zippy. It is really surprising considering the weight of this vehicle. It is not a light ute. It is surprisingly agile in terms of the acceleration. It's also got good braking. So just coming up to this traffic light here, the brake pedal feel does take a little bit of getting used to, but you've got regen braking as part of it as well to try and maximize the potential for recuperating lost energy and feeding it back into the battery pack. So that is nice to see. You can adjust the feeling of that regen braking as well. So you can put it in either standard or high regen. It doesn't have a single pedal driving mode or anything like that. You can also adjust the steering so it can be a comfort mode or a sport mode, and the sport mode just basically makes it feel a bit heavier. But I'm guessing the thing you might have already noticed is that there is a bit of shake in the camera, and that's partly to do with the fact that this does have a very stiff chassis. It's got pretty firm suspension as well, but it's not to the point of discomfort. It is just a bit more rigid feeling and firm feeling over sharp edge bumps, but over more sort of coasting, rolling bumps, you will notice that it does feel pretty comfortable. In fact, it is relatively very comfortable for a dual cab ute with a decent amount of payload capacity. Like, the suspension isn't gonna make Ford Ranger Raptors blush. It's not that sophisticated, but I think it's perfectly fine for this type of vehicle. And I have to say, the livability factor, apart from the fact that you sort of get that body wobble happening every now and then over bumps, is so good for this ute. It's quiet as well. There's not too much noise to contend with. At freeway speed, you do get a little bit of noise around the mirrors, but it's not to the point of annoyance. And I'm just really impressed by this. I think that this could be the best dual cab ute in terms of family friendliness and livability that you can buy. It's just easy, so easy. Now let's talk fuel consumption. So there's a couple of numbers you need to keep in mind. We'll talk energy consumption first. So you'll see the official energy consumption. So when you're running it as an EV, what you can expect the efficiency to be. Just over 20 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks. That is really good for something this large and this heavy, and all-wheel drive as well. But when you kick it into hybrid mode, you should be able to achieve 2 litres per 100 Ks. That's the official number when there's a sufficient state of battery charge, and it's a bit higher when the battery is a bit more depleted. But honestly, it really depends what you're going to be doing with this vehicle as to which number you should pay more attention to. But hey, if you are going to plug it in every single night and try and eke out 100 kilometers of EV range from this battery pack every single day, then I think you'll find it to be a super efficient vehicle. If you are going to run it as a hybrid, it's still going to be more efficient than any of the other petrol utes on the market. So that is a big tick in its favor as well. And to back that up, over my testing today, which has just been around Sydney and the suburbs, just doing a bit of an urban drive to see what it's really like, you'll see the number on your screen now. And I have to say, if that's what you're going to achieve, you're going to be pretty happy with it in urban driving as a daily commuter. Wow. Yes, it might be higher than what you might see in some diesels, but still, you've got 100 Ks of EV driving range if you need it. So good. The Shark hasn't been tested by ANCAP or Euro ANCAP at the time I'm filming this, but it does have heaps of standard spec and tech across this single variant model range. Things like autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. There's advanced adaptive cruise control with traffic jam assistance, so it can stop, start and steer for you. Yes, it's got emergency lane keeping, which can get a little bit annoying. And so can the driver fatigue monitoring system or the driver monitoring camera. So there's a camera that keeps an eye on your eyes, and if it thinks you're distracted, it beeps at you and it gets it wrong a little bit as well. There's speed sign recognition too, but it isn't annoying, thankfully. And you've also got blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and a surround view camera system, as well as blind spot view cameras. So it is a really high-tech feeling ute, and it makes it very easy to live with and easier to park than you might expect of a vehicle of this size. Yes, that's the number of centimeters to the obstacle that is next to the sensors. That's awesome. Really gives you an idea of how precise the tech is in this vehicle. Plus, there's 7 airbags fitted to this ute, dual front, front center, front side, and full length curtain coverage as well. Ticking all the boxes. BYD offers a 6-year, 150,000 kilometre warranty for the vehicle itself, which is not bad for the ute segment, but not setting any new benchmarks. And there's an 8-year, 160,000 kilometre warranty for the battery pack fitted to this vehicle. Your service intervals are pretty good actually, 12 months and 20,000 kilometres between services. So it's a bit less needy than some of the other utes out there. And also you'll see the average service cost on your screen now. You need to keep in mind when it comes to costs that this brand doesn't offer included roadside assists beyond the first year. You do get 1 year for free, but you'll have to pay for it after that. Full credit to BYD for landing Australia's first plug-in hybrid ute, but let me tell you, if you aren't thinking of this as a ute, just as a really practical family SUV style vehicle, you are going to be so impressed. You're getting so much vehicle for the money, and it makes something like an Outlander plug-in hybrid for $20,000 more seem like an absolute rip-off. But let me tell you, this is going to suit a lot of people's needs, and those who don't necessarily need to tow 3.5 tons or put a ton of payload in the back. It could be be a fantastic choice for you. But tell me what you think about it in the comments section below. Would you go for the BYD? Would you wait for something new to come? And speaking of which, if you hit the bell, you'll be notified when any new review comes out from this channel. Thank you for supporting me. It does mean a lot. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.